Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us here on MTN News. I'm Kevin Stanfield.
And I'm Caitlin Corbett. Police are always trying to avoid violent encounters with someone going through a mental health issue.
MTN's John Amy shows us how a special training program that went on in Butte this week helps officers de-escalate a situation before it becomes violent.
Police often respond to scenes that are out of control. This is why they train to end conflict peacefully before it escalates into violence.
Drop the gun! Push the gun away from you.
Law enforcement in Butte went through a week-long Crisis Intervention Team, or CIT training, which teaches officers how to deal with someone going through a crisis situation.
And that ranges from somebody who has been diagnosed as bipolar, paranoid schizophrenic, things of that nature, to just having a bad day, lost their job, and they've been put into crisis.
The final day of the training involved several scenarios in which participants acted out police calls in which someone was having a mental health crisis. CIT training was started years ago to curb violent and sometimes deadly encounters between police and people with mental issues.
In 1989, when I started, things were a little different. If we responded to certain situations, the idea was to grab the person and restrain them as quickly as possible, and then kind of work through the situation to see why they were doing whatever it was they were doing.
For the past 5 years, Butte police have held this training to learn how to communicate with someone in distress and resolve a situation without violence.
So we're to the point after 5 academies that about 99% of our department's gone through this training.
They call this scenario the train wreck, and it is quite a train wreck. It's very chaotic, and officers sometimes encounter situations that are really out of control, and they have to learn to de-escalate it.
We're able to de-escalate somebody who's highly agitated without even having to touch them and plug them into the services they need. We're that much farther ahead. They're not at risk, we're not at risk, and we're not housing them in the jail when they really don't belong there.
Keeping the peace. In Butte, John Amy, MTN News.
That training also included detention officers, dispatchers, and mental health professionals.